yeah, we're going to be talking about the new spells from Wildemount. We've been wanting to do it for a little bit now, and, well, today we're going to have the opportunity, which I don't know if we'll get through all of them today, but we'll talk about what we can. We're going to probably stop around 10 o'clock to take our brief break and then come back with player content. But let's just start diving into some of these, Jeremy.
Yeah, so just before, it's just a tiny, I'll make it real quick. These are spells that are called Dunamancy spells in the campaign setting of Wildemount, for which this Explorer's Guide to Wildemount is created. These spells are intentionally designed to be manipulations of time and space and potential, right? The potential for different things to go on, almost like branching timelines kind of vibes. So these are, as they say here, these esoteric powers are developed and harnessed through the use of dunamis and are still very rare and carefully guarded, blah, blah, blah. Okay, never mind. That's actually just lore for the world. This isn't stuff that is lore dependent, though. You could easily play this stuff in your own adventures. So yes. I'm very excited to look at it.
Wait, I thought there was some stuff that you have to be a certain subclass to use these spells.
Yes, they actually only added these specific spells to the spell lists of subclasses that exist in this book. That being said, it's kind of like how, the Blade Song can only be elves and the Battle Rager barbarians can only be dwarves. I think in your own homebrew campaign settings that aren't Wildemount, if you want to include these spells, I think you can be a little flexible about that stuff.
Agreed, absolutely. But canonically speaking, technically these are only supposed to be used by...
well, canonically, they only exist in this Wildemount universe. So.
That's also true. But the first one that we're looking at here is called the Dark Star, as we begin diving in.
What a killer name!
Yeah, well, it's also a killer level to start off with. We're starting with an 8th level spell here. And this is meant for the Graviturgy wizard, so I assume that it's a gravity-related spell. And this is an 8th level evocation spell. It has a casting time of 1 action, a range of 150 feet.
Goodness. A shard of onyx and a drop of the caster's blood, both of which the spell consumes. That's a brutal material component.
That's very cool. Let's give it a read through. The spell creates a sphere centered on a point you choose within range. The sphere can have a radius of up to 40 feet. The area within this sphere is filled with magical darkness and crushing gravitational force. For the duration, the spell's area is difficult terrain. A creature with dark vision can't see through the magical darkness, and non-magical light can illuminate it. No sound can be created within or pass through the area. Any creature or object entirely inside the sphere is immune to thunder damage, and creatures are deafened while entirely inside it. Casting a spell that includes a verbal component is impossible there. That's very cool. That's so stylish for the vibe of the black hole, which is what it seems to be wanting to imitate here. And then we have any creature that enters this spell's area for the first time on a turn or starts its turn there must make a Constitution saving throw. The creature takes 8d10 force damage on a failed save or half as much damage on a successful one. A creature reduced to 0 hit points by this damage is disintegrated. A disintegrated creature and everything it is wearing and carrying except magic items are reduced to a pile of fine gray dust.
Wow.
This is just a hard-hitting nuke.
So is there anything that keeps you from leaving it?
The spell's area is difficult terrain.
Okay.
That is all.
This is brutal.
Yeah.
And it's concentration up to a minute. I love this. This is so cool. I'm very in it. It's very simple, and I like that a lot. I really appreciate the caveats that are put on here. That, like, they took the time. He took the time to give it, like, non-magical darkness can't see through it, and light can't illuminate it. It actually says non-magical light. Huh. Does that mean magical light can?
It would imply so, yes.
Usually, I think that would say, a convention, if you look at some of the other light spells or darkness spells, would be magical light of a level greater than or equal to this will illuminate it, I think. Something like that.
That sounds familiar. I think you might be right about that. But regardless, I think this is a well-designed spell. I think the spell is very well balanced. It's a huge radius, but also this is an 8th level spell. And I actually think there's a lack of more practical 8th level spells in the game.
100%, yeah.
This is really filling a niche for me on, which is making a big, giant, really black hole is kind of what the vibe is. Is such a good spell for that vibe. So
and let's see, what is it? It is. I'm just trying to think. So you actually couldn't get out of it on your first turn if you only had a movement speed of 30.
Um, yeah, that's so brutal.
So you're going to take a minimum of 16 d10s of force damage.
In
That
the
is an
same vein,
incredibly powerful 8th level spell.
in the same vein, if you're using it on an enemy, as much as they are stuck in it for a long time, you also can't really see them within it.
Yeah.
This does have some brutal synergy with Devil Sight from the Warlock, but
Well, what does it say?
hard to design around that.
Oh, it only says a creature with dark vision can't see through the magical darkness.
Yes.
Interesting.
Um,
Very cool, though.
Yep, agreed. And I think it's in a good spot as well.
Absolutely.
Very
Let's look at this next kind of feature. And I see Amy Cheat was saying, so I just went ahead and put a home right here on the Discord. I'm dying to get your thoughts on it. Pete, how are we handling that kind of stuff from now on? Because I know a lot of folks have been doing that, right? They've been seeing this stuff and being like, oh crap, I have some awesome stuff I want to share, and throwing it on.
Yeah, that might be a little bit tough for us to get to today, Amy Chibi. As we were saying, we have a lot of content that people have already kind of taken the time to put in before today, and so we don't want to be unfair to anyone who already wanted to get their stuff reviewed. But in future weeks, we are absolutely will go back and look at anything that we don't get to. For example, stuff posted today, we will look at that, you know, next time we do Fantasy Labs, which won't be next week, but well, 2 weeks from today. So if we have time, then we'll look at it, but schedule's pretty tight today, so we might not be able to get it today.
Yep. Just so you guys know. And again, for folks who get inspired or like, yeah, I want to do this thing, we would definitely recommend for your homebrew content to take your time and give it the effort and the look over the review that you think it needs before you share it with us. I know it can be tempting to try and rush it and put it through, but you know, if it's something that you're actively working on, give it the time. And then, you know, we'll get to it.
For sure.
Especially in subsequent weeks.
Good homebrew takes time and love. So definitely let your own stuff sink in. But
let's keep moving on these spells so we don't...
Fortune's Favor.
Yeah, 1 minute casting time. So this is not in combat. And it uses the white pearl worth at least 100 gold pieces, which the spell consumes. Oh, very interesting. Lasts for an hour. You impart latent luck to yourself or one willing creature you see within range. When the chosen creature makes an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw before the spell ends, it can dismiss the spell on itself to roll an additional d20 and choose which of the d20s to use. Alternatively, when an attack roll is made against a chosen creature, it can dismiss the spell on itself to roll a d20 and choose which of the d20s to use, the one it is rolled or the one the attacker rolled. If the original d20 roll was at advantage or disadvantage, the creature rolls the additional d20 after advantage or disadvantage has already been applied to the original roll. So this can cancel out disadvantage or advantage, which is very cool. Yeah, so this is a very interesting effect, and at higher levels, you can target additional creatures. So this spell I see is a little tough sell for me at second level. A second level spell for basically a luck point, if you're familiar with the lucky feat. But I could see this being cast at like a 4th or a 5th level, especially on a high level party, and be like, all right, cool, we just got 4 rerolls for 5th level, so I'll take that in a heartbeat, right?
Especially with the fairly brutal requirement of consuming a white
100 gold piece, yeah.
Yeah, every time you do this, it's basically costs 100 gold. I guess the high potential of it and the thing that makes it threatening is that there's no reason that you cannot stack this from what it reads, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I guess. It's weird.
That is the...
Well, actually, I think you couldn't, based on a different spellcasting rule in the player's handbook. Creature can't be under the effect of the same spell more than once.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. This one just almost seems like it is meant to...
It almost feels like it should, right?
Yeah. And I can see that being cool, like if you want to give someone, like someone's going off on a journey and you just want to give them a million fortune favors before they like step out for the day. It has no end time on it. Oh wait, no, the duration is 1 hour.
1 hour, yeah, 1 hour.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, there's nothing really wrong with it. It's, I think, a little steep for a second level spell, but because of the way it scales, I think it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I would almost want to make this a first level spell personally, but...
It'd be so good at first level, though. It'd be too good at first level, I think. I think it's pretty safe where it is.
Safe is definitely true. And they're better off favoring the side of safe, so...
Yeah, and V-Bunny was saying this kind of steps on the toes of the halfling. I don't know, man. I think the halfling still has its very specific niche with its re-rolling critical failures. Oh, and Amy Chibi, thank you so much for being understanding about us maybe not being able to get to the thing today, but we'll definitely get to it next week. We promise.
Yes, or the 2 weeks from.
We appreciate you guys being understanding about that kind of stuff. We've got so much going on nowadays.
Yeah.
Especially since Pete and I are still working and everything, despite all the chaos going out in the world. Let's talk about this next one. Gift of Alacrity. It's a first level divination. It's a divination spell. I like that. Divination's cool. 8-hour duration, and it's 1 minute cast time, so another out of combat one. You touch a willing creature, and for the duration, the target can add 1d8 to its initiative rolls. Oh, that's the whole thing.
Really interesting.
That's insane. That's so powerful, especially later in the game.
I don't know if that's. I mean, it's designed to be on this one specific wizard. So maybe it's balanced around that wizard as being kind of almost like a class feature of them. So maybe that's part of the reason why some of these are chosen to be.
What they are, yeah. But man, that seems very strong for me.
Yeah, at high levels, that's. Oh my god, and imagine if Gift of Alacrity is like your signature spell on a wizard where you can cast... Don't you get a first level spell at will or something eventually?
Oh god, yeah, how does that work?
Your party would just always have a d8 to all of their initiative rolls.
Signature spell, yeah, when you're 20th level or spell mastery. Choose a first level wizard spell or second level wizard spell that are in your spell book, and you can cast those spells at their lowest level without expending a spell slot while you have them prepared. And if you cast either spell at a higher level, you must spend the spell slot as normal. So yeah, at 18th level, you can just cast Gift of Alacrity at will. But I think that's okay at 18th level, right? Like, I'm not too concerned about it there. This is a very cool spell, very powerful.
It's very good. This seems like a late game spell is the thing. Like,
it depends on how you play. If you're in one of those games, in one of those groups, one of those GMs, that you run one big battle a day, which a lot of players do, this is so good when the party gets to a certain level and the wizard's got some spell slots to burn. But if you're the kind of player that runs a lot of dungeons, where the players might have 5 or 6 or, God forbid, 7 or 8 or 9 encounters in a single long rest, holy moly, you're never going to use this.
Well, it's also good, though, because then you get that for all of those initiative rolls, too, though.
Oh, that's true, but you want to conserve your spell slots a little. It's so hard to choose.
It's good, though. It's
very cool.
Good. It's probably too powerful, frankly, at a first-level spell, but it's cool.
It's only a D8, though.
I'm cool with that in the context of it being intended for this wizard. Like, I would actually be reticent to give someone other than the Chronogy Wizard this, and I would only do the Chronogy Wizard, let people with that subclass take it because it's like feels like a class feature in a way.
But anyway, I guess what we're getting around to is this is a very interesting one to consider, and one for a dungeon master who is thinking of, wholesale allowing this Lord Guys to Wildemount to think about a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure.
Very cool, like, art here of this person, the Slod being pulled into the Dark Star. It's a lot smaller of a Dark Star than I remember, though.
Or maybe this is a gravity fissure.
Oh, Pete, gravity fissure. That's another spell. Tell me about it.
It's a 6th-level evocation spell. You manifest a ravine of gravitational energy in a line originating from you that is 100 feet long and 5 feet wide. Never mind, it's probably not that.
Like the lightning bolt.
Yep. Each creature in that line must make a con save, taking 8d8 force damage on a failed save, half as much on a success. Each creature within 10 feet of the line but not in it must make a con save or take 8d8 force damage and be pulled toward the line until the creature is in its area. Interesting. So this is it's a 100 feet long and 5 feet wide, but really it's 100 feet long and 25 feet wide.
Yeah. That's a very interesting line. I see that the extra pull part doesn't do any half damage though. This is actually a really well-written spell for what they were trying to accomplish with it.
Agreed.
And do you think at 6th level this is reasonable?
Yes, it's 8d8. I compare it against Fireball, which is the
lightning bolt, 8d6, right?
Yeah, a lightning bolt.
The same area as lightning bolt, just I guess
the dice is better,
times wide,
and it's much wider, and it has this little pull effect. I think it's completely fine. Here's
a question, Pete: is the extra width better or worse?
That's a wonderful question, Jeremy, and the answer is situationally either way. Yeah.
I
It's
love this.
cool.
This is so cool to me.
Yep.
So cool.
I almost think this was one that could come down to, but I like them going on the side of safety.
Yeah, I think this is very good. Well, good even hand went into balancing this, and it looks like at higher levels it's just an extra 1d8 damage, which is reasonable.
Yep, absolutely.
It follows. Gravity Sinkhole, 1 action, 120 feet range, instantaneous is another combat spell. A 20-foot radius sphere of crushing force forms at a point you can see within range and tugs at the creatures there. Each creature in the sphere must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, the creature takes 5d10 force damage, pulled in a straight line toward the center of the sphere, ending in an unoccupied space as close to center as possible. Even if that space is in the air. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage and isn't pulled. 4th level spell, 5d10, and a pretty substantial force effect, pull effect. But I guess it's just
the picture.
a one-time thing. Yeah, that's the picture. It's a gravity sinkhole. He's really scared, poor guy. Actually, it looks like he's a gravity sinkhole being pulled into a dark star, which is really the true nightmare here.
That seems a little powerful to me.
Yeah, but seems a 5d10 feels a little powerful for that level. I know by comparison, Erupting Earth, I think, is a 3d12 3rd level spell with some area of effect like it makes difficult terrain, right? It's a crowd control kind of deal. This is only 1 level higher for 2 extra d10, a much wider pull radius.
But
powerful.
it is just 1 effect, it's only 1 round, so it's not like it goes on, so.
The only real concern with it, right, is like how similar this is. I'm seeing Gravity Fissure, Gravity Sinkhole, these pull effects, how they would potentially interact with the later level Dark Star. There's almost too much synergy going on so far. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's an interesting idea, because these are not concentration effects. They're instantaneous things that could drag people into the Dark Star, which is a threatening sort of play style, which may be problematic, but you'd have to see how it actually plays out, I think, to a certain extent. But
well, speaking of problematic, Pete, this next one is one that I've read about a little bit, I've heard, and it's very problematic.
I was very excited to read this. I haven't heard of this before. Cool name.
Immovable objects. One action
object. Oh,
no, you take it. Take it.
I thought you were tossing it off. 1 action, range of touch, requires 25 gold piece of dust, which it consumes. It's got a duration of an hour. You touch an object that weighs no more than 10 pounds and cause it to become magically fixed in place. You and the creatures you designate when you cast the spell can move the object normally. You can also set a password that, when spoken within 5 feet of the object, suppresses the spell for 1 minute. Interesting. If the object is fixed in the air, it can hold up to 4,000 pounds of weight. More weight causes the object to fall. Otherwise, a creature can use an action to make a strength check against your spell save DC. On a success, the creature can move the object up to 10 feet. And then the weight capacity, it looks like, increases with spell level.
Yeah, the issue that this totally missed, and this is the only thing in the game that misses it, there are a lot of spells that affect objects, and almost all of them, with the exception of the heat metal spell, require it cannot be held or carried. This doesn't require that the object can't be held or carried.
Oh, that's...
Yeah.
It's unacceptable.
Yeah, this is... Yikes, man. There's a huge issue. Now, if you rule it, and that's something I would do if I were reading this and of course, this was only, this is a minutia thing that people realized after this was published. If I were running a game and I was going to allow the Explorer's Guide to Wildemount spells, that's something I would make sure that's clear to the characters, to the players rather, that this is a really cool spell. I love it conceptually, being able to just make a little immovable rod. But you'd need to put the caveat on there that this can't affect a spell that is not held or carried.
You can't do
this can't affect an item that's only unheld or carried spell items, because otherwise this gets just no.
A slight issue there, but and by slight I mean completely game breaking, but an easy one to work around by just adding that caveat. Which it almost seems like they thought it was in there and they messed up.
Yeah, it almost feels like it.
But let's talk about magnified
another just minor issue I'd have. Like, on a success, the creature moves the object up to 10 feet. On a success, the spell should just end, I think. If they beat your save DC on something like that,
if you just
that's a little
out of the
whack.
way. I agree 100%. Also, with the way that it increases the DC by like that big chunk at 10 at higher
Oh,
levels.
the DC increases based on higher level casts. That I hate. Oh my god, I despise that. What?
Yeah, that's a
All right,
that's a very weird choice.
I a very questionable design. Let's talk about magnified gravity, Pete.
Yeah, do you want to take this one?
Sure. An action, it lasts for 1 round, so it's not an instantaneous effect. It lasts for a time. Gravity in a 10-foot radius sphere centered on a point you can see within range increases for a moment. Each creature in the sphere, on the turn when you cast it, must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, they take 2d8 force damage, and its speed is halved until the end of its next turn. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage and suffers no reduction to its speed. Until the start of your next turn, any object that hasn't been worn or carried in the sphere requires a successful strength check against your spell save DC to pick up or move. Interesting. And when the cast at a higher level, it does a little extra damage. This is very powerful for a first level spell.
10-foot radius is very large for a first
10-foot radius, 2d8 damage. I mean, this is a much larger radius than Burning Hands, which I think is a very powerful first level spell. Burning Hand, very strong for first level.
Yeah.
But larger area of effect, comparable damage. Honestly, 2d8 is pretty similar to 3d6. It's a little lower, but
a little bit lower, but it's close.
A powerful crowd control effect.
Agreed.
That's a lot. Strong first level spell. And once again, we're seeing there the like, here's another feature, right? That
makes it
interacts aggressively with the Dark Star.
Yep. Interesting choices there, but pretty powerful feature.
Yeah, V-Bunny's correct. 15-foot cone is Burning Hand, so this is way larger of an area.
Yeah, again, very powerful.
This feels like a second level
spell on the border, difficult in the too powerful maybe in the context of some of the other higher level features, but
let's talk about
Pulse Wave here. Yeah.
Take it.
Third level spell, 1 action. It's a self 30-foot cone. The duration is instantaneous. You create intense pressure, unleash it in a 30-foot cone, and decide whether the pressure pulls or pushes creatures and objects. Each creature in that cone must make a Constitution saving throw. A creature takes 66 force damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. And each creature that fails the save is either pulled 15 feet towards you or pushed 15 feet away from you, depending on the choice you made for the spell. In addition, unsecured objects that are completely within the cone are likewise pulled or pushed 15 feet. I'm not crazy about this one. And the reason I'm saying that initially is this pull effect. It seems like you could run out with a lot of confusion about how there's a lot of things in this 30-foot cone and they're all being pulled towards you in a cone, meaning that they're boiling down to a point that is singular when multiple things are getting pulled into it. So it definitely has a lot of ambiguities in terms of how one would interpret the way monsters interact with that pull.
And another weird one is, again, the distance is being changed with the spell level. Increased by 5 feet for each level above first. That's definitely a little funky. It's a very big push here. It can be, at least. I don't know. I'm not super into this either. I mean, it's 8d6 damage, sure. So compared to like a fireball, you'd think, all right, this is worse than fireball. But this does force damage, which very little in the game resists at all. Well, fireball is extremely commonly resisted. So just from the damage type, the damage this does is very comparable. And then in addition, right, it has a utility effect. Yeah, it's probably a little overvalued, I think, at this point.
30-foot cone's a big area too.
Yeah, a little funky to me.
I'm not crazy about this one, but do you want to do Ravenous Void? This would be the last one here. Oh, I'm glad we're getting to one of these 9th levels.
1 action, range 1,000 feet. Okay, concentration up to a minute. All right, this looks terrifying. I'm gonna guess this art here is Ravenous Void. Poor guy.
Oh no. Oh no.
You create a 20-foot radius sphere of destructive gravitational force centered on a point you can see within range. For the spell's duration, the sphere and any space within 100 feet of it are difficult terrain, and non-magical objects fully inside the sphere are destroyed if they aren't being worn or carried. When the sphere appears, and at the start of each of your turns until the spell ends, unsecured objects within 100 feet of the sphere are pulled toward the sphere center, ending in an unsecured space as close to center as possible. A creature that starts its turn within 100 feet of the sphere must succeed on a strength saving throw or be pulled straight toward the sphere center, ending in an unoccupied space as close to sphere center as possible. A creature that enters the sphere for the first time on a turn or starts its turn there takes 5d10 force damage and is restrained until it no longer is in the sphere. If the sphere is in the air and the restrained creature hovers inside the sphere, a creature can use its action to make a strength check against spell save DC and the restrained condition on itself or another creature in the sphere that it can reach. Creature reduced to 0 hit points in the sphere is annihilated along with any non-magical items it is wearing or carrying.
I love
this seems like
the word annihilated.
This is just a different Dark Star.
Yeah, it's kind of an alternative version of it.
Yeah,
it's cool.
It's what they like. I'm confused as to why this and Dark Star exist because they seem to do the same vibe.
Well, Dark Star is just a big black death circle, and this is this is the
pulls you in and blah, 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 eats you.
Yeah, this is actually the black hole. I think Reality Break is that Eldritch stuff.
Oh, do you want to? Let's do that one, and then I think we can call this one. Well, what do you think about? What did you think about Devouring Void? I mean, I think it's fine.
I think it's fine. This seems like an ability for, frankly, an NPC more than a player. It seems like something that an NPC would throw on the ground far away, and then the players would have to like run away from this thing and fight against it, and it would be more of like a challenge to overcome to start a battle, rather than something that a player should be able to use on an enemy.
I agree. A lot of these features have struck me as that these spells, they're good. A lot of them are fine, but they definitely strike me as something that like would be a feature that a monster, a particular villain or monster would have, rather than like something my player characters are going to run around and be like, Dark Star, blah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Ravenous Void just does not feel right for anything but a villain to me.
Yeah, or even like
villain.
Almost like that. Almost feels like a big like a more warlock like feature. You know, just with the name of it. But let's talk about Reality Break.
Let's do Reality Break, and then this will probably be the last one for sure for this. So you got to take a break in a moment. 8th level Conjuration spell. Do you want to do it, Jeremy?
Sure. It's an action to cast, so again, another combat one. Got concentration. It's only 60-foot range, so much smaller than some of these other guys. You shatter the barriers between realities and timelines, thrusting a creature into turmoil and madness. The target must succeed on Wisdom saving throw, or it can't take reaction until the spell ends. The affected target also must roll a d10 at the start of each of its turns. The number also determines what happens to the target, as shown in the Reality Break effects table. At the end of each of its turns, the target creature can repeat the saving throw, adding the spell effect on itself. So this, right off the bat, makes me think of like the Warlock Hurl Through Hell, right, or Dark Delirium kind of vibe.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Let's see what it does. It only has 4 options, which is a little funky for a D10 table, but sure. Vision of the Far Realm. The target takes 6d12 psychic damage and is stunned until the end of its next turn. Okay. Rending Rift. The target must make a dexterity saving throw, taking 8d12 force damage on a failed save, and have as much on a successful one. Okay. Wormhole. The target is teleported along with everything it's wearing and carrying up to 30 feet to an object face of your choice that it can see. It also takes 10d12 force damage and is knocked prone.
Oof.
Chill of the Dark Void. The target takes 10d12 cold damage and is blinded until the end of the turn. Interesting. These. Okay. This is really weird to just affect one creature.
This seems very. You know exactly what this is to me? This is what happened to Doctor Strange. In the movie Doctor Strange. It really seems like what they're going for here.
Yeah, actually, I can definitely kind of see that.
If anyone's not familiar with that, kind of a mentor figure is like, I'm going to open your world, and taps him on the head, and he just gets flung through all these different dimensions and realities all of a sudden, ultimately ending back in the same place that he was. But this seems very much like what that is trying to emulate. And I think it's a really cool aesthetic. I actually like the idea of these, like, every turn something wacky happens, and this seems like a really fun spell to describe narratively, so it's not a surprise to me that Matt Mercer designed this spell. He definitely designed this spell as, like, I think I can make this seem really cool when I use it, and it is very flavorful.
Yeah, I'm not sure where this stands on a power level. I guess it's probably fine. 8th level is very high. You only ever get one of these.
And it's a single target.
Yeah, I think it's fine. It's really really interesting. It's just the one thing that's just strange to me is it's only affecting the one creature. So this is really just all in its head, which is whack. It's a very interesting way to envision it.
Yeah, very specific. Well, but it also has physical effects. So I don't know if it
Yeah.
is all in its head, because
That's
it's
strange.
physically teleporting you through. Like, I think it's just reality's broken for one creature. I don't know. I have a very strong vision of how this spell.
Well, but
I
it's
would-
weird, right? Because it doesn't. The only thing that keeps you from acting on that turn is that you're stunned. Is that first one? All the rest of these, you still take your actions and can go. You just can't react. That's what's weird to me, right? If you like disappeared and these things happened to you, that I might get a little more.
Well, I like the. I actually like that aesthetic of like the world is bending around you. The fight is still kind of happening, like in the distance, and your friends are talking to you, but you're just seeing these hidden things that are like parallel to what you're doing. Like, I don't know. The vibe hits for me. But
Okay. It's a little weird.
It's definitely
to me,
a unique design, and
well, it's supposed to be a little weird.
yeah, that's true too.
Now, we're not going to go over the other guys because we are out of time for this part of our show, but there are a couple more spells, including a necromancy cantrip that does a little bit of damage and knocks creatures prone, which is pretty reasonable. Another temporal shunt, which looks like it can teleport people through time or space, which is kind of cool. And actually, it's a reaction, right, to protect someone. Tether Essence, which I don't even know what this does, but it fuses a spool of platinum cord. This has probably some weird, wacky stuff in it, and
It makes
Time
them-
Ravage.
Yeah, Tether Essence makes their hit points totals. Whenever they take damage or are healed, they both gain the healing or damage.
Interesting, 2 creatures. So that's very interesting. Time Ravage, which I'm going to assume does a bunch of damage and ages creatures. Yep. Oh god, if the target fails to save, it ages to a point where it only has 30 days left before it dies of old age.
Oh, brutal!
Whoa! Only the
I
effects of the
mean-
wish spell or greater restoration cast with 9th level spell slot can end these effects. Wowza!
I'm kind of fine with that because there's also 9th level spells that turn you into cups or
Yeah, of course.
kill you.
There's an absolute. I think this would have no effect. I would just do the damage if a creature doesn't die of old age, like a Tarask, right?
Yeah, maybe.
And Wrist Pocket, which I don't know what this does. You can vanish. Oh, you can just teleport things, shunt them into a little extra dimensional sanctum, which is very cool.
Always nice to see more rituals.
Yeah. So, I love rituals. Rituals.
I do too.
But yeah, those are the cool new spells from Matt Mercer's Explorer's Guide to Wildemount campaign setting, an official, actually the first new setting for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. I'm very cool about that. So if you guys are interested in it, you can check this out either on Amazon, your local game store. Check out your local game store if you've got one and you can go out because of the plague and everything. You might even be able to get this from Matty Morgs over at twitch.tv/Matty Morgs. You should check him out. Matty's an awesome guy. But for now, Pete, let's take a quick break.
Yeah.
And what are we going to do when we come back?
When we come back, we are going to get to the core of our show. We're going to be going over the stuff that you guys have put into the workshop and the completed works channel over the last few days. A lot of people went back and did second takes on stuff they've already done. That's awesome. Keep doing that. I'm really excited to talk about some of those second takes. We'll see you all soon.